First things first, Tom. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. Thank you very much.
It's very good to hear. So we are here to talk about a couple of things. One is a new track, one is the upcoming album. So before we get into it, I'd like to go back to about 8-9 years ago when you first met Idir.
Yeah.
Do you remember what your first impression of him was?
Yeah, I think I remember. Yeah, because it was funny because due to a mutual friend, we started like working out together in the gym, like a local gym nearby our center. And well, I don't know, what was my first impression? Like, hey, he's a nice kid, and he was like a little more buff than I was. You know, when you're in the gym, like you're a guy, you look at each other and you compare. You know, that's the thing. But he was a really nice guy, and I think soon after we kind of like started collaborating in the studio. Like he really liked the stuff I was making back in the days already, and I heard he had a lot of potential. And like together we had some sort of like chemistry, and we liked the same kind of atmosphere and vibes in tracks, and that was not super mainstream. So it was really funny, and I think a big coincidence that we met each other, and from there we continued basically.
And I read that. Then after a while, he kind of moved into your little student.
Yeah, that's the thing. True.
So how long between that first meeting and then him kind of moving in and you going full?
Ooh, that's a good question, because honestly, for me, all those years are a little bit of a blur, because after all, a lot of things happened. It was a big roller coaster, a big successful roller coaster, of course. So I'm trying to get back to it a little bit. Let's see. Well, I think it was about, I think in less than 8 months or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And obviously, being that close together, you get to know somebody quite well. So what was one of the things that maybe you learned about yourself or about him in those months?
What I learned about him was that he is really not a morning person. Really not. Like, honestly, I'm a morning person, and that's not always a good thing, but it's how it is. And I can wake up at 8 and like, take my shower and then ready to rock, today. And for him, it's like, if he wakes up at 8, that's too early. So he will sleep till 11 or 10 or something, and take it easy. And by the time it's 12 or 1, he's ready to start the day, basically. That's what I learned about that. Other than that, I think, I don't know, somehow there was like a really good vibe between us, and I mentioned it before also, and it's almost like a brother to me. He really feels like a little brother, and I think for him, I feel like a big brother, and that's the kind of roles I think we kind of like gave each other. And
I'm sure this is very difficult to kind of put into words, but what made the connection between you work so well? Was it music first, or was it immediately kind of everything?
I think it's kind of everything. We're both very emotional people, without sounding like too much feminine, but like we're really sensitive people, and also that goes through in the music and in the way how we produce and the kind of atmospheres we try to put into the music. What's like the ambience and the feeling you want to give a listener when they're listening to the music, and all those kind of things together with like the way how we look at the things in life and in daily life were very similar. Like, we are completely different persons, but we have a lot of things in common also, and those things made the chemistry.
Is there one thing, maybe a music group, anything that you differ on? That is maybe a group that you like and he hates?
Well, yeah, music-wise we have a different taste. We have a lot of things in common, but like he really loves like reggae stuff and like really easy, and for me that's I really like hard rock and like let's say even hardcore, hardstyle music, so more up-tempo things, and he's like really chill and easy, and that's the difference we have in music.
So that fits together well then, I suppose.
Yeah, somehow it fits together, yeah.
And obviously now you have a new track out, Superfriends.
Yeah.
When did you kind of decide, well, we have to make a track about kind of this relationship between us?
Yeah, the thing is, we got the vocal at first hand from our publisher, I think about 2.5 years ago, and we were like, okay, you know what it is? The vocal is very like cheesy in a way, but at the same time we liked it because it was about like friendship and super friends, and we were like, somehow this is a subject that we feel connected to, so we will keep the vocal and see what's up, and then we try to put some like different chord progressions underneath, and we were like, okay, it's cool, we got a cool sound, but what should be the drop? And back then we were also like a little bit struggling with finding or like developing our own sound. Like, where are we going to? Is it more towards like what we always do, like club and festival oriented tracks, or more like progressive house and more for more for on the radio and listening and stuff like that. So we were kind of stuck with the track, and then we were like a few times we felt like maybe we should do a collaboration with other artists so we can get their vision on the track, and we used this one as an example, and maybe we can continue together with somebody else on it. Didn't work out either. And then after I think 1 year or maybe 1.5 years laying down, just doing nothing there, we had like a writers camp, because sometimes we like to set up writers camps in different environments. So in this time we had like some sort of like a bungalow park. So what we do, we take our gear with us, just the basic gear, so a set of speakers, guitar, a MIDI keyboard, our MacBooks, and from there we start making stuff. And then one of the tracks we found back was actually the Superfriends track, and also with this vocal, and we were like, you know what, maybe now we have this is a better moment to have a new look at it. So which we did, and from there we kind of like rolled into the track again. So it all happened pretty naturally. It was not like we got the vocal and straight after the track was finished pretty soon. It really took 2.5 years to get into the feeling for the track.
What made the drop work in the end? Well, how did you figure it out?
Yeah, what made the drop working? It's for our kind of stuff. It's I wouldn't say really soft, but really different, because usually we have a pretty aggressive style when it comes to like our drops and our dance floor music. But this one is like I mentioned before, we are like, sensitive people, and this drop was having a lot of emotion in there, and at the same time powerful also. So that was the way how it worked, and we tried I think 4 or 5 different drops for this one, and eventually we stuck on this one. Yeah.
And now I found a little post on Instagram where you talk about friendship, where it kind of goes. Friendship isn't about who you spent the longest time with, but it's about who walked into your life, said I'm here for you, and proved it. And so along the road, you've had your ups and downs, obviously. So I'll start with the down. What was one thing that you together had to overcome, in a sense, to kind of get where you are? Because obviously there's the fact that Idir isn't touring anymore.
Yeah.
But is there
other than that? There are a lot of things we've been through together actually, and one of the things was one of our best friends and our old tour manager. He got an accident on tour, so he fell out of a window in Brazil, in Rio. And was pretty heavy injured. It was super crazy that night, because it was just the 3 of us, and like we found him on the street not the next day, but like a couple of hours after, receiving a telephone call from like, hey, somebody from your crew is laying here on the street. Like, basically, it was super crazy, and that had a big impact on both of us. Also, I think the fact that we everything we've been going through as an artist and as a person. Like, it's like how do I say it? It's a very difficult question, this one.
Sure.
It's like it's like a roller coaster, and we've been in this roller coaster together, and had a lot of good moments and some like bad moments also. But I think in the end, it's about like, we've proven each other that we found a way to make it work. It's almost like a relationship or like a marriage, basically, but a little bit different. But you know that the other person is not perfect. I'm not perfect, and sometimes he's not perfect also. But still, you accept the flaws of the other person to make it work. And in the end, if you see the bigger picture and the progression, that's the most important, I believe.
And it's just my perspective on those kinds of things, but I would say that you learn more from going through those difficult experiences than the kind of those highs. So have you?
Yeah, absolutely. Because on the good moments, you're just like you're like in a flow. So you're in a state of where everything is going well, and you're not learning from those kind of moments. You're learning when you're having a dip and a bad moment, and from there you should look at yourself and reflect and be like, okay, what went wrong? Is it like, is it something we could prevent or whatever, or is it something out of our power? And I think that those are the moments we learned a lot about, and the fact that we were pretty young when we started. And sometimes when I think about it, it's like we were kids when we started like touring and blowing up already, even though we were like, I was 22 22 or 23 and he was 20, I believe. We were still kids, like in our minds, still kids. And over the years, we became adults, and that's it's really weird because when I look back at interviews from ourselves from like let's say 6-7 years ago, I'm like, whoa, damn, who are these kids? Who are these boys here? And I don't know, it's different.
Well, let me ask you this then. What is one lesson that you've learned over the years? Maybe that you can share with people who want to get into music or kind of because from what I gather from all the interviews I've done with DJs, it is a very exhausting thing. It's hard work and people kind of maybe not realize that all the time. Well,
the thing is, recently I heard from a therapist into the music scene that she said that people in the dance industry are likely to have 3 to 5 times more likely to have like a burnout. Okay. Which means that when you're doing things that you don't feel comfortable with, if you feel that, you start noticing that you should stop doing those kind of things and just do whatever makes you happy. And it sounds really cliche right now, but it's the truth, because when you're doing things somebody else tells you to do, or it doesn't feel comfortable and is not close to who you are, in the end it's gonna be, it's gonna
suck the energy out of you.
Yeah, definitely, it's gonna suck the energy out of you. And for Idir, after a while of touring, he found out that touring was for him that thing that sucked his energy out, and it was really bad. And also that reflected back to me, that reflected back to our chemistry in the studio and everything. And after a while, we learned that like being happy with ourselves basically was also giving a lot of positive things for Blasterjaxx. So yeah, that's the best advice I can give. Just stay true to who you are.
And then one thing that you do that I'm sure you love is working on a new album. So the album's called Perspective, and is it done now?
Is it done?
Or is that a tricky question?
It's almost done. The thing was that we thought our album would be done in October already, October 2018. Didn't happen. Then it was November, then it was December. Every time something happened along the way. Like it was a really amazing journey and a really amazing adventure we've been through. And but also there, a lot of things happened that were out of our control. Like vocalists that turned down the track in the end, even though like everything was all set. Like paperworks were like 99% set, everything. But then they were like, yeah, I'm not sure if this is still the kind of direction I want to go in my profile and stuff like that. And I think that happened now over 6 times. So in the end, we had like 6 tracks finished where a vocalist said like, I'm pulling back. So we had to find a new vocalist. And that's really, really exhausting basically, because like working on a track for weeks and months, and in this case also years maybe. And then getting like a vocalist who says like, nah, you know what, I'm not gonna do it anymore. That's very horrible.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, but all the other good things is that I think we have put down some really dope tracks, in a total of 22 tracks now. And they really sound like us, sound Blasterjaxx, and they sound very much like the stuff we did in the beginning, where we got like famous for. And so our fans will be very happy with those kind of tracks. And we have a lot of tracks that we believe in that should be something for the new generation of dance lovers.
And that's an interesting point, because now doing an album, in EDM generally a lot of songs tracks are released separately. Yeah. But now you have an album, you have a collection of 22 songs. So what did it allow you to do to have this kind of big body of work? And you mentioned the diversity.
The thing is, usually like we release singles, which means that the single needs to be very good and it needs to serve all the people. It needs to serve the steady fan base we have. We hope that we can like reach out to a new group or audience or whatever that will start following us and create a buzz that way. So that means that the stakes are very high in a different way. And with the album we had more freedom basically to do whatever we like, because on your album we have 22 tracks. Let's say that 10 of those tracks we are sure about those tracks, they will serve the crowd, and they will be happy. That means that we got 12 tracks we can a little more experimental about, we can do more what we really feel like doing, or maybe just whatever, like we feel those tracks and maybe the people don't like them, but still we got 10 other tracks that they will be definitely happy about. So we had, for instance, we have 3 interludes on the album, which are almost like a movie score. They're very short, and it was a lot of fun to work on this, because when you're working on dance music, you have like restrictions, you have rules you have like to not go too much deeply. You have like headroom. You have to make sure that the kick is going enough through the rest of the leads and the basses to make it all, you know, sound really amazing. And with this kind of music, we were like free to do whatever we wanted. It could be like really full of emotion and without restrictions, and that was fun to do. Yeah.
Very quickly, what is your favorite movie soundtrack? Or one of your favorites?
Yeah, it's the. I believe the title is "I See You" from Leona Lewis from Avatar.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really well done because they use like the instrumental for the track they made as basically as a movie score. So it's like pop combined with movie stuff. It's really dope.
Because the thing is, do you think a lot about mood? Because you mentioned emotion already, that you're very emotional musicians in a sense. But do you think about mood the way people will hear it in a sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's been the drive for us for almost all of our tracks, because we always think like, okay, when you're in the crowd, like, what do you want to feel? Do you want to get goosebumps? Do you want to just go like very plain, you know, like do all your whatever circus acts we call them, or but we really like to create an atmosphere on the floor and something that's really maybe a little bit unusual, but at the same time when the track is dropping, it's mainstream enough to be able to do that. So you can bring them, get them a little bit in some sort of journey into the breakdown, and when the drop is there, it's already, you know, it's fine.
Right.
And we love to do that.
Final question. The album is called Perspective.
Yeah.
When did the title kind of came into your mind?
Well, even for the album, we had a lot of different titles in our mind. We chose for Perspective maybe because honestly it was the easiest, but at the same time also the most effective way of telling what we want to tell with the album. Because this is our perspective on how Blasterjaxx is sounding right now, and it's maybe the easiest answer, but it's also the most correct and clear answer about it. So that's the only reason basically.